Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gail Carson, that's Gayle, Gail Carson 13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. Hi, everybody. This is Gail Carson, Dr. Gail, SOB, and I want to invite you all to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Spunky Old Broad. And today we have a wonderful guest for our Women in Business show. Her name is Theresa Marcroft, and since 2001, she's offered practical and effective marketing advice and implementation for tech companies in Silicon Valley. She's transformed many young companies from engineering-focused to customer-focused and believes that customer focus is the key to success. Her work has resulted in 12 successful exits, 3 clients with successful IPOs, 5 companies who were happily acquired, and 4 are still privately held and thriving on the path to revenue. In her recent best-selling book, The Path to Revenue, Secrets of Successful Tech Leaders, she shares her top 8 highly effective customer-savvy marketing strategies. Welcome, Theresa.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
It's so unusual to find somebody who is so well-versed in tech to also be so well-versed in customer service. So it's very interesting to see that you've written this book. And of course, they say that everyone has a book in them, which I do believe. I truly believe that. But less than 1% actually write and publish one. So what motivated you to get this done, especially when you've been so successful with your work in the companies that you've been dealing with?
Thank you. That's a great question. The thing that motivated me actually to attack this book and to tackle it and dive in and get it done was 2 decades of consulting to CEOs who were leading technology companies. And so after 2 decades of doing that and dozens of clients, you start seeing themes, repeating themes. And it turns out that the theme that hit me finally after working with several of these companies was so many of the young companies just didn't ever get the traction, didn't actually make it onto the market, and didn't actually become successful with an ongoing and stable revenue stream. And so while I was working with my own clients, I was observing so many others fall by the wayside. And when I started looking into that, I found out that the failure rate of small tech startups is actually about 90%. It's 9 out of 10 that don't make it. And knowing firsthand how much blood, sweat, and tears, energy, and focus was put into every single startup, that just seemed like such a crime to me that it just shouldn't be, and it doesn't have to be. So I wrote this book to share some lessons learned in the hope that more companies would find success.
Wow, that's a good reason. I can't think of anything better. So who specifically is your audience? It's CEOs of tech companies, or are there other people that you think would benefit from reading this?
It's CEOs, but their entire management team. And the lessons that I learned were very, very clear in tech companies, but all of these marketing strategies could apply to pretty much any company. It's mostly business to business rather than consumer products, but you can look at consumer products for some of the lessons learned to understand examples. But the audience for the book is anyone in a management team in a small or medium-sized company.
Interesting. Well, then it's for everybody. Everybody who's got a business. So you spent your business career in the startup world, which is very unusual, I think. So why did you do that, and why do you think so many young companies fail?
Well, it was in Silicon Valley that I graduated from college with a marketing degree. And so just proximity led me to working with technology companies. And I didn't realize at the time that I was going to love it as much as I did, because working with technology companies is very exciting because the market is changing quickly, the competitive landscape is changing quickly, and the customers' needs are changing quickly. So you really have to be on the ball and paying attention and alert to any of those trends that are changing in the market so that I can lead my company to adapt and meet those changing needs or the changing competitive landscape. But it turns out that there are so many companies that fail, and statistics and surveys and reports have bear this out. So many young companies fail because they don't keep the customer need in mind. And so there were surveys or a report from EB Insights last year that showed that out of all the reasons these 90% of startups fail, the number one reason is no market need. And so market need could be evident when customers want to buy the product or service that you're offering, of course, at the price that you're asking, with the features that you're supplying, and they want to buy it at the right time and buy it in the places where they shop. So there's a lot of things that need to line up in order to really say that you're meeting customer need. It's not just the product. There's a lot more that adds up to the entire product you're delivering, if that makes sense.
So is that what you studied in college?
I studied marketing in college, yes. And so,
okay,
yes.
So that fit in really well.
It did.
What do you think? I've got my own viewpoint, so I'm waiting to hear yours. What do you think is the secret to making it and being successful? And of course, everybody's definition of success is different. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
I think the one core secret to making your company successful is being able to keep your customer's mindset in mind, keep a customer focus. And this is especially evident in technology companies where the management team and many of the engineering group in the company is so focused on the product and the technology, and they're losing focus on the customer. And so keeping a focus on the customer and being able to build that focus into all areas of the organization, I think is what turns things around. If you can get your focus off of your own technology and onto the customer and what you're providing to the customer, then you have a chance of long-term viability, I think.
Wow. Well, customer, that old saying, the customer is always right. And of course, I don't think the customer is always right, but I think that you need to listen to what the customer has to say, because many times, even though they may not be right, they might be pointing out something that is a glaring error that you never even thought about. So I agree with you. I think being customers focused is just absolutely essential. However, in your book, you share 8 strategies to keep a customer focus in an organization. So give us an example of at least one.
Okay. One good example of understanding customer focus and how to look at that is to dig into customer mindset. So understanding what your state of mind is, what the customer state of mind is with respect to the product that you're trying to sell them or the service that you're trying to offer them. If you look at customer mindset, let's take an example of, say, a smartphone. We all know people who go out and buy the latest and greatest smartphone as soon as it's available. So these people went out and bought the iPhone 12 in the second half of October as soon as they could get their hands on it. And we also know friends and groups of people who make their phone last a decade. They're quite happy with their iPhone 6 right now, or their iPhone 7. They're hanging on to it until it just doesn't work anymore.
I had an iPhone 6 and I hung on to it till about really 6 weeks ago, and it just stopped working. Nobody could hear me. I couldn't. I mean, they couldn't. I couldn't hardly hear them. So I went to the store, the AT&T store, and but I got the exact same phone. I didn't get the 12. He said, well, we have a phone that's new, but it's like your old one. I said, perfect. So that's what I got. It's still not backed up. It tells me I have to back it up. I've tried. It doesn't do it for me. And so I'm one of those people you're talking about right there.
So you're going to hang on to yours until it stops working, whereas other people want the latest and greatest.
Exactly.
Exactly. And so those are two different marketing techniques. So selling to you and selling to the early adopter is a completely different marketing strategy. And the company needs to know who they're selling to and when, so that they can speak in a way that people can receive the information. So they can tailor their messages and communicate the benefits of their product in a way that makes sense and appeals to you. So if I said to you, look, this is the latest and greatest. It just came out yesterday. It's fast. It has 2 cameras. It has all these bells and whistles. That's not what you want to hear. You want to hear it's reliable. And it's not going to need much service, and it's going to be easy to operate. There are two different mindsets between you and the early adopter who's really interested in just the newest technology.
And so that brings to mind the question of who is the most profitable to the company. It would probably be the early adopter, wouldn't it be?
Most people would think that, but it's actually a big picture of the profitability is going over the course of the lifetime of that product. So that product starts out selling to the early adopters, and it ends its life of the product selling to people who are in the majority market, like you, Gail. And so that whole transference from one market segment to the next, and through from early adopters to late majority, that's the entire profit picture. And so they want to maximize that by selling effectively to each market segment.
So here you've got these strategies, these 8 strategies, and it's all about customer focus. Then what? I mean, how does a company stay on the path to revenue? I mean, perhaps some of this is not working, some of it does. Do you have any advice for that?
I do. Towards the end of the book, I cover several different strategies to stay on the path to revenue. Once you've launched your company, launched your product, and you're selling successfully, staying on the path to revenue, one of the things that's included in that section is, for example, creative PR, because people seem to think that they have a very narrow view of publicity, and they think it's coverage in newspapers and magazines, when there could be so much more and many, many different ways to approach PR. So getting creative about attracting mainstream attention is one. And another very important one is measuring customer satisfaction, because anything that's important is worth measuring. And when you're surveying your customers and asking for feedback, you find out who is actually a net promoter of your company. They're saying good things to their friends over beers on Friday night, or they're a net detractor saying, no, I wouldn't buy that again. And so understanding how happy your customers are and measuring their satisfaction is another key to staying on the path to revenue. So yes, there are lots of things that you can do once you get there.
Wow. That's so important. You're talking about PR and all of that. And, I'm a big media person and really believe in that. But there are so many avenues today, Theresa. Every day, right. I pick up something or hear something, and there's a new something out there. And I think, oh, my gosh, how can I keep track of all of this? So
right.
It's not an easy thing to do.
No. So, but I can give you another example of that too. In creative PR, at one point in my career, I was leading marketing for a company called Surfwatch that was keeping kids safe online, to protect them from harmful material online. And we created a little brochure and ended up getting it in McDonald's Happy Meals. And so that was a huge boon to our awareness, a huge boost in our visibility. But most people wouldn't even think about approaching McDonald's to talk about keeping kids safe online, but there's a natural connection there, isn't there?
Absolutely. Wow. That was quite a coup right there. So But you said that there's one thing that corporate boards can do to ensure the company's chances of being successful. So what is that?
That would be, it's shocking to me how many companies don't have a marketing person on their board. You know, they have three committees typically. There's the audit, the governance, and the compensation committees. The boards have those three committees typically, and they neglect to put any kind of marketing expertise on their board. And that's so surprising to me, because that kind of a focus could definitely help them to steer the company into a more successful and profitable direction. Just helping them to keep their focus on the customer.
That is amazing. I mean, I can understand where they're coming from, but you know, I remember you mentioned finance. I remembered I was the first woman chair of the one of the three largest Better Business bureaus in the country, and I do not read spreadsheets very well. So I always had someone who was a finance person on the board so they could explain it. And whenever it came to the report, I would say, and so will now give the report, because if I gave it, it would have just been convoluted something. Mm-hmm. But I knew the difference between profit and loss and all of that, but I couldn't explain it the way a business person should normally explain it. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's very important what you've just said, that you know, you need to have a marketing person, you need to have a finance person, you need to have a strategic person. All of those people need to be on your board. I agree with you totally. So give us another strategy from your book. What would another strategy be from your book?
Another one that especially tech companies seem to struggle with was keeping their message simple. You know, they'd want to put data sheets in their ads and be very technical about the speeds and feeds to describe their product. But really, if you can simplify the message and make sure that it's something that customers really can understand. For example, there was one company I was working with here in Silicon Valley that did corporate networking security. And so for network security, you can talk about encryption algorithms and triple DES and all kinds of other very geeky security qualities and features and aspects. But really, when we revised their messaging, what we came up with was the ability to secure e-business, you know, to secure any business that's done over the internet. And people can get that. They understand that and they want that. But when you start talking about encryption algorithms and triple DES security, that makes people's eyes glaze over. And so if you want to appeal to more of the people in your customer target audience, then talking about securing e-business makes a whole lot more sense than all the techie features. So simplifying their message was a huge change in their marketing, in the way that they did their marketing, just simplifying it and making it so that it would resonate better with their customer group.
Well, now that brings up a question. The people they're marketing to would be primarily techies because they would understand the need for whatever that particular solution would be. But yet, who is the purchaser? And is that person more of a marketing person, or is it more, you would think, I understand what you're saying, and I totally agree with you, by the way, but I would think if a person is looking for a technical solution, they would want to know all the buttons to push when they're buying something. So who, I guess the question is, who is actually their customer?
That's an excellent point. So the user might be extremely technical. The person who installs it and monitors the product and ensures that it's upgraded when needed. The user could be very technical, but in most product purchases, there are more people involved, and often the chief financial officer is involved. The CEO, depending on the size of the customer company, the CEO might be involved. There's an IT person who's involved. There's a purchasing agent who's involved. And all of those people, it's all done in groups. It's all purchasing is not a one-man decision at all. And so there's several different people who need to approve the purchase. And so you want to make sure that those people understand it too. And so that's why layered messaging is extremely important. So if you think about it like a pyramid, where at the very top of the pyramid, you have a short and sweet message that would be something like securing e-business. And then at the next layer, you could talk about, maybe the next layer of detail, it could be geographic distribution, securing e-business here at home, at remote offices, international offices, etc. And then you go down the pyramid and you keep elaborating. And at the bottom of the pyramid, you get to a very technical, detailed explanation, which is what your guy is craving, the one who's extremely technical.
Wow. Well, you can see that Theresa knows a lot about what she's talking about. We have about 5 minutes left, Theresa. I want people to know how they get in touch with you. And I don't know if you have a gift for anybody, but whatever you'd like to tell them about where to find you or the best way to be in touch with you, that would be terrific. And then, of course, how to get your book as well.
Okay, great. The book is on Amazon. It's called The Path to Revenue, Secrets of Successful Tech Leaders. And then to contact me, my website is market-savvy.com, market-savvy.com. And so there I talk a little bit about the services that I'm offering and the board positions that I'm talking to right now. And then the third question you had was about what I might be able to offer your audience, Gail. And that is, if anybody has a desire to talk about, maybe have a 15-minute review of their messaging so that we can see how that folds into their marketing strategy, I would be happy to offer that. A little review of the messaging and a consultation on that marketing strategy related to messaging.
Guys, you better take advantage of that. That's fabulous. I might take you up on that myself. That sounds wonderful. Well, let me ask you something. This book, because it is, it's Successful Tech Leaders. Would any leader benefit by reading this book?
I certainly hope so. That was the goal. Yes.
Okay, because I'm thinking, perhaps there are people that say, well, this doesn't apply to me because it's a techie book, but it isn't a techie book. It's good, strategies to help you build a company. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're someone who's a woman in business who's just starting out, and you might want to know the latest whatever's to do, this is a big help for you. And
right.
Take advantage of Theresa's offer to help you get your messaging down. I've been in business forever, and I'm still trying to get my messaging down. So
yeah, Gail, it's definitely not a technical book because I'm not an engineer, but I had the gift of being able to translate from engineering speak to customer speak. So it's definitely straddling that fence and not meant to be just for a technical audience at all.
And something, that is a talent and a gift in itself, Theresa. The being able to straddle that gap between the technical person and the marketing person, the customer service person, and the leader of the organization. Being able to straddle that segment is not an easy thing to do. And the fact that you are able to do it and so successful at it is fabulous. So I think that's wonderful. So, I think that everybody, I don't care what business you're in the marketing business. And that's what people have to understand. It's, I understand you're selling a product or you're selling a service, but you're in the marketing business. And if people don't know who you are, what you have to offer, understand what it is that you're offering, you're not going to survive very long. So what Theresa is teaching you and what she's showing you in her book and in her wisdom is exactly how to do that. So I think it's a terrific thing, Theresa. So again, you can reach her. Her domain is market-savvy, SAVVY.com. Her name is Theresa, and by the way, it's spelled Theresa, Theresa Marcroft, Marcroft. So you make sure you've got the right one. And Theresa, I hope you've enjoyed today. I've enjoyed interviewing you. Have a great new year and welcome to Women in Business.
Thank you so much, Gail. It's been fabulous. Happy New Year to you.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gailcarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.